So in today's video, we're going to look at how to boot up the system. A couple of things to note. This is specific to how we do sound at Oro Valley Church of the Nazarene. So some of the things that you'll see in how we start up the system and how we use the system are specific to us and our installation. But I'm going to try to make everything as generic as possible as it relates to the SSL console. And so hopefully these videos will be of use to anyone else who's running an SSL board. So first thing we need to do in our case is we're going to come over here to the sequencer. It's a key in the wall. Hit this, you'll see the green light above the key start to flash, and that means it's booting up the audio processor, the amplifiers, and rack equipment and stuff. The console itself is not on the sequencer. That is because it has a specific shutdown process, so we don't want to just effectively yank the power cord out. So we want to actually do a shutdown on that. When you get here, the console should be covered up like this. I found the easiest way to get the cover off is just fold the top half down on itself. And then you can kind of fold it in thirds and drop it under the desk over here. And then you'll see a PSU light. PSU is power supply unit. So as soon as I click that, the board will start booting up. So there's a couple of things to remember here. Make sure you don't have headphones or keyboard or mouse or anything sitting on the faders, because as this boots up, you'll see that it goes through a fader calibration process. So all the faders move and stuff. We don't want anything to get in the way of that. So as this boots up, you'll see a progress bar go across here. It does take just a little shy of about 3 minutes to boot up. So just kind of be patient and wait for that. In the meantime, again, the sequencer has finished, and so we wait on this progress bar to go across. While that's doing its thing, you can turn on the screen over here on the right. This is connected to a computer underneath the desk. This computer is running SoundGrid Studio for us, and that's what we use for some audio processing. Right now, the only thing we're really using is we're using Tune Live on our vocal mics. That's really the only thing we're doing over here. So we'll also pull up Planning Center, and we'll see that on the screen and stuff. So when that computer is booting up, or if it's already booted up, which it should be, unless we've had a power outage that has outlasted the battery backups and things, that's happened. What we should do is come over here, and you'll see down in the taskbar at the bottom of the screen a little green icon. That is SoundGrid Studio. We want to make sure that is open first. So that's this software. Once this gets up and running, and once the console gets up and running, you'll see sample rate will show 96,000, 96K, and it will be set to slave. This will go green as soon as it sees the console via the audio interface. We have an MGB down here under this. So we want to open SoundGrid Studio first. That kind of initiates the driver and everything for the SoundGrid Studio interface. And then the second software we want to open is Waves Multirack. So once we get Waves Multirack open, this is where we're doing our audio processing. So one important thing to note, our vocal mics all have insert A turned on, and that insert A is going out to our Waves interface, the software, and back to that channel. So if for some reason the Waves software doesn't work or isn't booted up, or you're having problems with the computer, just know that you will not get sound through these vocal mic channels. You will have to turn off the insert A for each of the vocal mic channels, because if the computer's not running, or the software is not working right, or giving us a problem or something, it's sending audio out to this interface, but it's never coming back in. So if this is giving you problems, come in here to your vocal mic channels and turn off the insert A function. That will let us at least start passing audio back through those channels again. Now, I did an earlier version of this video, and one of the things that I did in that video was I showed how I kind of pre-cache or force the screen to pre-draw all of the interface. That was a real annoyance, and it was just, the interface felt kind of laggy and it was kind of slow. As soon as I shot that video, got it posted on YouTube, then the week after, SSL released a software update for the console that fixed and removed all of that problem. So that's the reason I'm reshooting this, because now we don't have to go through and pre-cache and pre-draw all of the user interface things. So, okay, console is up and running. There's a couple of things we want to do as soon as we get up and running. If you come up here to Menu, we want to go down to Setup, and then we want to look at a couple of things. Well, let's look at I/O first. So remember, we went Menu, Setup, and then I/O. To verify that we are seeing the 3 stage boxes we have connected in the back room back here, I want to make sure that stage box 1, stage box 2, and stage box 3 are all showing up and they are all lit green. That means that I have to and from that stage box and they are set to the correct sample rate. Now, in this example, we're also seeing a 4th item. That's the Waves MADI interface, which is the device that I've mentioned underneath the desk over here. If I see that and that's lit green, now if I come back over here to my SoundGrid Studio, I see that everything over here is lit green. So all of that is seeing each other and talking. So we should have our inserts working for the Waves tune. Okay, so that's item number 1. If any of these things are lit red when you boot the console up, stop there, figure out what's going on, because likely you're going to have problems. So stop there, make sure all this stuff is lit green. Second thing we want to do once we get the console running, make sure you are on the show file that you want to be running. So again, we're in Menu, Setup. There's a button over here for show files. When I press show files, I'll see a list of all the show files that we have on the console. I try to be really diligent in creating a new show file anytime there's a pretty decent size change in the configuration. So mostly those are over here listed under dates. So right now, we are running February 20th, 2019. I can verify that because up here in what is basically the menu bar, I see the current show file, which is 2/2019. So I want to verify that I'm running the show file that I think I need to be running. And also, before you start your rehearsal or your service, make sure that you are in fact on the correct scene that you want to be using for that service or rehearsal. You can look at it here. It shows a very abbreviated version of the name of that show file, or I'm sorry, of the name of the scene. Or I've got a shortcut button up here, the 10 user keys. I've got some tape above it that shows what each one is. Button number 2 takes you directly to scenes, and you can just verify that you are in fact on the scene that you want to be using. So now that we're set up and ready for our rehearsal or our performance, there are 2 more things that we have to check to make sure that everything's going to go off as well as possible. If you don't get any sound or anything, or if you do get sound, there's a way that this can cause a little bit of a problem anyway. You always want to make sure that this button up here, this small user keypad, the button number 1, we want to make sure that that is not lit. I've got a shortcut so that button number 1 is our virtual sound check mode. So if you come in and you don't get any sound at all, nothing will pass through the console, pretty good chance that you're in virtual sound check mode. Now, we're adding a second audio interface so that we can do virtual sound check all the time for every one of our rehearsals. So we still want to check this because if we have our recording software up and running and we are in virtual sound check mode, we will still be getting audio through the system. It's just that it's going into the console, into the recording computer, back out of the recording computer, back into the console again. So we will have additional latency through the live sound in the room if we are in virtual sound check mode. This is a big one, so make sure this is turned off for any live performance stuff. Last thing, this fader on the right, this master fader on the right over here, is our record master. Okay, this is not what's going out to the room, but this gives us a meter and a volume control, and it shows several other things for what's going to our broadcast audio embedder for the program video. It's going to the CD recorders, it's going to the online internet stream, all of those things. So we want to make sure that our record fader is up at Unity. Now that we've got that, virtual sound check is off, record fader is up, we should be ready for our rehearsal.